Country Director of Oxfam in Nigeria, John McKenna, says inequality has continued to favor a privileged few while keeping the majority in poverty. Speaking at a dialogue themed The Next 90%, Youth, Policy and a Fairer Nigeria on Thursday in Abuja, McKenna said inequality is reflected in the exclusion of young Nigerians from political leadership, noting that there is currently no one under 35 in the federal cabinet. The event brought together representatives from the Senate, government ministries, embassies, international organizations, and civil society groups. Clearview's Florence Joshua, who was at the event, brings us details.
Nigeria's poverty rate is a pressing concern, with over 83 million people living on less than $2 per day. Sadly, the country's poverty landscape is characterized by stark inequality, with the top 10% controlling a staggering 90% of the country's resources. This has resulted in significant portion of the population struggling to access basic amenities such as good schools and health care. It has been observed that women and youth are particularly vulnerable to poverty. Statistics have shown that only 4.2% of elected officials in the National Assembly are female, with only 13% owning Nigeria's farmland. It is also unfortunate that young people are being excluded from political leadership, with no one under 35 in the federal cabinet. Also, the informal economy dominates the statistics, with 65% of Nigeria's workforce operating without formal structures.
The next 90%, and specifically looking at issues around youth, policy, and fair in Nigeria. We're talking about bridging the gap between the youth and the other populations.
We cannot thrive as a society with large segments of our population left behind. And we cannot paint a picture of a future Nigeria for all of us without youth sitting at the table, not just as stakeholders, but as co-creators, leading and driving change.
Imagine a big party of 100 people, 10 people in one room get 90% of all the food, while the remaining 90 other persons in another room have to share the remaining 10%. That's what is happening in our country. The reality is that the top 10 controls on overwhelming 90% of our country's resources, and over 83 million Nigerians are left to live on less than 3,000 naira 100, and that's $2 a day. This event is for all of us to come together and find ways to fix these big problems. We have leaders who make decisions. We have young people with brilliant ideas. We need voices, your energy, your creativity to build new ways to run our country, manage the money fairly, and also make sure that everyone, especially young persons, the youth, the women, get a fair chance.
We need to ensure that people have meaningful jobs with decent livelihoods, so that they're able to not only have living wage saved, but everybody in that family, because the dependency ratio is very high in Nigeria. We're talking about 80%. So you can see with that kind of dependence, so even if one person makes it into that working class, where he has decent living, he typically tends to have many dependencies. So it's a holistic national approach by all the tiers of government.
To address the challenge of poverty, Nigeria needs to diversify its economy, invest in agriculture and technology, and promote job creation with a focus on progressive labor policies, social protection programs aimed at addressing insecurity. By working together, Nigeria can create a more equitable society and reduce the alarming rate of poverty.